Jessica says her pro wrestler husband Josh uses the name VIP in the ring, but he's nothing but a wimp because he cried like a baby on their wedding night.
He's walking through the house on the night of the wedding. You got a 3-week-old baby.
And her father shows up to visit with her.
On your wedding night?
Yes.
How'd you feel?
Horrible. That's not right. That's very disrespectful. And
oh, so you cried that night?
See, here he goes again, Your Honor. The boo-hoo, the cry for me story.
Well, you just a little insensitive little... He can express his emotion if he chooses to. That doesn't make him a whip. And anytime you feel like crying, if you want to cry in this courtroom, help yourself.
And Josh says he told his marital troubles to a fellow wrestler who stabbed him in the back by sleeping with his wife.
But he thought he's confiding in you.
I thought he was a friend. I was a friend on the inside. Outside, I'm my own person.
You know what? You only like her to try to hit him in the face and to try to punch him in the face because you think he's a wimp and a punk, and you say, yeah, now not only do I whip you in the ring, I take your woman. That's all that's about. And you too stupid to know it. You too stupid to know it.
Today, Jessica LaRue and Josh LaRue bring their case before Judge Maybelline in divorce court, where real couples deal with real life.
All rise. Court is now in session. Judge Maybelline Ephraim presiding. You may be seated.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is a matter of Jessica LaRue versus Josh LaRue, also known as VIP. I understand you've been married for 9 months.
Yes, ma'am.
You want him to reimburse you $350 for your promoter's fees you paid?
Yes,
For
ma'am.
him? Well, you say that you earned. You're disappointed because you believe your husband was a big wrestler and a big guy and a real man, but you found out he's a wimp and a whiner.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to you, your wife is a cheater, and you are an animal in the ring, but a nice guy at home, and she can't handle that.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Your
Go
Honor,
on, Mrs.
I'm here
LaRue.
today to cut my ties with this man, Josh LaRue. When we first met, we had so much in common in the wrestling business. He's a wrestler, I'm a promoter, we both love the sport. But then we started hanging out, we were really good friends. It got more serious, we got married. As soon as we got married, everything changed. He turned into a punk. All he did was cry and whine about everything. Your Honor, let me tell you about my wedding night. I had a new baby. Okay, I had a 3-week-old.
You had a new baby?
I was pregnant before we got married.
By him?
No.
By somebody else?
Yes.
Okay, so what happened to this man if you were pregnant by another man when you met Mr. LaRue?
We called it quits. We didn't want a relationship. We just become friends.
How did the two of you end up together if you were pregnant by this other man?
I heard him on the radio. He was on a radio show, and some friends of mine heard him and called me and said, we heard VIP on the radio. Get us some tickets to his show. And I called him up and congratulated him on getting the time and the airtime on the radio and wanted to get some tickets to go see his show. And after that, we made, I do believe that evening we got together and talked about the shows and him being the type of wrestler he is and me being a promoter.
What kind of wrestler was he?
At the time, kind of green. He needed a little bit of work. But every wrestler through their years need it.
And you were a promoter?
Yes.
So you agreed that you guys could get together and perhaps work together?
In business.
But it turned out to be pleasure as well?
Yes, it did.
Okay, so he's walking through the house on the night of the wedding.
He's
You
walking,
got a 3-week-old baby.
and her father shows up to visit with her.
The father that became the friend?
Yes.
On your wedding night?
Yes.
He just happened to come by?
Yes.
How did that happen?
He called me and told me he wanted to, and I said yes.
She
On your
invited him.
wedding night?
I told him yes.
She invited
he could.
him.
No, I told him he
And
could
his
come.
friends, 4 of his friends.
I told him he could come, and 2 of his friends showed up, and they stayed in a different room with the baby than where me and Josh stayed with our company. He didn't have to go in there and interact with them. I went in there to check on the baby. No, it was my apartment he moved into.
Oh, excuse me, but now isn't this your husband?
Oh, yes, this is my husband.
So shouldn't he have a right and access to any room in the place that he wanted?
No.
Oh. How'd you feel?
Horrible. I mean, I just felt like I was totally disrespected. You know, it just... And a little bit of backstory on this that she didn't mention. When we first got together, I knew she was pregnant, and that was fine with me. We really had a lot in common. And I never once at first said I didn't want the baby's father to have anything to do with the baby.
She gave you the sob story.
Yes, Your Honor. And when that baby was born, I was in that delivery room the entire delivery. I cut that baby's umbilical cord. That baby stole my heart, okay?
You did.
And I'm gonna get married, and somebody's gonna show up and just push me aside for a guy that I'd heard all this bad stuff about, you know? That's not right. That's very disrespectful, and it's just not, in no way anybody should be treated that way.
Oh, so you cried that night?
See, here he goes again, Your Honor. The boo-hoo, the cry for me story. This is exactly how he does with everybody, with any situation.
Well, you just a little insensitive little... He's crying because, you know what, and I don't even know him and don't know you, and I wasn't there. And it's enough to make me shed tears over the fact that you were so insensitive and so rude and disrespectful. Here's a man that's been with you while the other boys out doing whatever. You're out of something, nothing.
3 days.
You need to hush while I'm talking. I mean, that's enough to make any human being who has compassion and consideration cry. And why? Because he's a man, he can't cry? Who says?
I didn't say that.
Who says he can't cry?
I didn't say
God
that.
gave him the same tear ducts and glands as he gave me and you.
Yeah.
He can express his emotion if he chooses to. That doesn't make him a wimp. And anytime you feel like crying, if you want to cry in this courtroom, help yourself.
When divorce court continues, find out how Josh lost his wife to another wrestler.
Now, who's this fellow over here?
I go by the wrestler name of Cujo Lee.
Cujo Lee.
Yes, ma'am.
So how did the two of you hook up?
If you would like to have the judge hear your case in divorce court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or log on to our website at divorcecourt.com. Divorce court continues with the case of Jessica LaRue, who testified she's divorcing her pro wrestler husband Josh VIP LaRue because he cried like a baby when her ex showed up on their wedding night.
That wasn't the end of the disrespect that she gave to me.
What else?
After this had happened, I kind of conceded a little and agreed that we could have certain days that, you know, he could come by that'd be more comfortable for me.
Right.
And we agreed to these days, but then there was always an excuse why he would have to come while I was at work.
Do you deny that?
Oh, no, I do not deny it.
Okay, so you still disrespected him. I mean, here's a man that doesn't want you. Here's a man, your husband, trying to be nice to you, trying to respect you as a wife. Why couldn't you just give him that? And say to the baby's daddy, these are the times you come and see the child.
I did at one point.
Well, it's your house. Since he couldn't go into a certain room except you let him,
Exactly.
I know you could keep boyfriend out.
Oh, yeah, he wasn't my boyfriend.
Well, baby daddy.
I didn't expect them to be best friends, Your Honor, but at the same time, they should respect each other.
How do you know the word respect?
Yep.
You got the audacity to think that he should respect the other man, and you can't even respect your husband.
At that time, I did.
No, you didn't. Okay, so what else?
Okay, at some of our wrestling shows, she would, like, grab the other wrestlers' butts, and
That was my job, Your Honor.
she would hop on...
Seriously.
She would hop...
Grab their butts?
Not necessarily their butt.
I would be lacing my wrestling boots. I'd look up. She'd be sitting in some guy's lap with her arm around him and everything. She said that they called her mama and that was her job and everything.
So she'd sit in the other wrestlers' laps and hug on them?
Yeah.
Well, that was your job too, I suppose.
My job as a promoter is to get in good with the wrestlers. No, that does not mean sleep with them or in any other way.
As a promoter is to get in good with the wrestlers.
That's right.
So what was your real interest in your husband since you think he's such a wimp and whiner? Why would you marry somebody that you thought was such a wimp and whiner?
Because
you knew he was a nice man too, huh?
Oh, he was a nice guy at the beginning. But see, after a while, it just turned into the constantly nagging, the whining.
No, what it is you don't like nice guys. You want somebody that's going to yell at you and talk about you and treat you like a fool.
That's not true. That's not true because my baby's father didn't treat me like that, and the guy I'm with now did not.
Now, who's this fellow over here? Who, you the baby daddy?
No, you're My name's Nick Fight. I go by the wrestling name. Yes, ma'am. I go by the wrestling name of Cujo Lee.
Cujo Lee.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're a wrestler too?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're another one that she started to promote?
Yes, ma'am.
So how did the two of you hook up? Or are you hooked up? Is that why you're here?
Yes, ma'am.
Now you're together. You're an item.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you're pregnant by one man. You meet Mr. Josh. You leave the other man. You get with Mr. Josh. You marry him. And while you're married to Mr. Josh, you start an affair with this man.
No, ma'am.
What, you can't end one before you get into another. What's your MO?
Your Honor,
No.
Your Honor. Actually, right after our separation, she got back in a relationship with the baby's daddy shortly. Before she got with
So she
him.
went back to him for a short term.
After all the time she told me I wasn't trusting and that she would never get back with him and she was just going to be a friend, she got back in a short-term relationship with him after the separation.
When divorce court returns, how will Josh respond when fellow wrestler Cujo Lee accuses him of being a wimp?
So he's crying to you and telling you about his wife
How
left
they
him,
split up.
and the baby daddy is causing the conflict.
Yes, ma'am.
And all that did was made you say he's a wimp.
Just look at him. What kind of man is that?
Divorce court continues with the case of Jessica LaRue, who testified she's divorcing her pro wrestler husband Josh VIP LaRue to be with another pro wrestler who goes by the name Cujo Lee.
So you all separated within 3 months after you were married?
Yes, ma'am.
So she went back to the baby's daddy for a little while?
A little while.
Telling you she'd never go back to him?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
And now she's back with this one. Now she's with this one. And how'd you get into the picture?
We bumped into, well, through wrestling-wise. I've known Josh for a while before I've known her. We've wrestled together for a while.
So you knew this was Josh's wife?
Not at the time. I was gone out the picture for a while.
He was out of the picture.
I had an injury in my shoulder and I had to retire for a little while.
Uh-huh.
And when I came back, he comes up to me at a show crying about how him and her split up. Whining about how this and that, how her baby's daddy would come over and see him.
So he's telling his friend, so that's what you're supposed to be, right?
I was a friend on the inside. Outside, I'm my own person.
But, now what kind of friend is that? How you define that? I'm a friend on the inside, but on the outside, I'm my own person.
You got to keep a good communication with all your wrestlers. If you're going to go against somebody or you're going to wrestle with somebody, you have to have that reliability right there.
So in other words, you weren't truly a friend. You just chatted with him.
Business-wise.
No, that's not friend. Friend is friend. Okay? Okay, so in other words, you were colleagues, you were in the same league together as wrestlers in the same profession. You had a common courtesy conversation with each other.
Yes, ma'am.
But he thought he's confiding in you. You thought he was a friend.
I thought he was a friend, yes.
So you found out. So he's crying to you and telling you about his wife left
How they
him,
split up.
and the baby daddy is causing the conflict.
Yes, ma'am.
And all that did was made you say he's a wimp.
Just look at him. What kind of man is that?
Okay,
He
I'm
couldn't
looking
be
at
half of me.
Excuse me?
He couldn't even out-wrestle my pinky.
2 weeks ago, I beat him in a wrestling match at a show.
And you had to whine about the whole thing while you were at the show. You went to the promoters crying, oh, well, I never knew I had Cujo Lee to wrestle against. Can you do something about it?
It's all right.
So he cried that he had to wrestle you, but then he whipped you.
He didn't whip me.
You know what? You only like her to try to hit him in the face and to try to punch him in the face because you think he's a wimp and a punk, and you say, yeah, not only do I whip you in the ring, I take your woman. Yeah. That's all that's about. That's all that's about. And you too stupid to know it. You too stupid to know it. That's all it's about. It's an issue with your manhood, and and I got your woman now, and I'm sleeping with her. Take that to the bank, punk. Yeah. You playing that little childish game.
When divorce court continues, Jessica's new boyfriend tells Judge Maybelline the reason he has someone spying on her.
So baby daddy comes over when you're not at home.
I have somebody there to pay attention to what's going on.
But first, what finally drove Josh to call it quits with his wife?
I just want to let you know what the final straw was.
Yeah, please tell me. I can only imagine it probably was just like the first straw.
Divorce court returns with the case of Josh LaRue, who testified he thought fellow wrestler Cujo Lee was his friend until the day he discovered he was dating his wife.
Your Honor,
Yeah.
I just want to let you know what the final straw was.
Yeah, please tell me. I can only imagine it probably was just like the first straw.
We got into one last argument over the baby's daddy not going with the schedule, and it got really bad to the point where it went from me being emotional to me being a little mad, a little upset, letting out a little bit. And she said she needed a couple days to clear her head of things. And her parents offered me to stay at their house for 2 days.
Why don't you be quiet?
I call her one night, and the baby's daddy answers the phone.
He's over there.
He's over there.
Oh, but he's just visiting,
And that was it. And I said, I don't know why you have to do this. And she goes, well, look at it this way. Going towards the baby, she goes, at least you have the experience. I had love in my heart for that baby, and all she can say to me is, at least you had the experience.
Number one, when he called...
So that's no consideration for the child either, because now the child is in conflict.
That's
even though she's only 9 months old.
Yep, she's 9 months old now, and her daddy still comes over and sees her.
But she's probably wondering where he is.
But see, the night that he called, I was in the bathtub, and her father was downstairs with her while I wasn't taking a bath.
Okay. When you find out that, in the next few months, because she only stays with him a little while at a time, she'll be somebody else, and the next wrestler that she's promoting, quote unquote, you'll see. Many people been in your shoes, and they always stand over there and say, no, he'll never do that to me. It's usually the woman saying, he'll never do that to me. He did it to her because she wasn't woman enough. And that's what you're saying. He's not man enough, so that's why she acted like she acted toward him. She respects you because you're a man, right?
Yep.
More of a man than what Josh was.
She respects you, right?
Yep.
So baby daddy doesn't come over when you're not at home.
More than welcome to.
And he comes over when you're not at home.
I have somebody there to pay attention to what's going on.
Right.
It's our friend.
No. You have somebody there to do what?
It's a friend between us to make sure nothing goes around, because rumors do get spread.
You have a monitor, in other words.
Not all.
Yeah, tell me about the $350 promoter fee. That's what you should have done, had a monitor. Sit down, Mr. Cujo.
Your Honor, when me and Josh first met each other and we were just talking about, like I said, his gimmick and everything he has in wrestling, that's all his. But I made numerous phone calls to get him booked on shows. I made T-shirts, gave him a new slogan, everything. I'm the one that was there to get him set off on these shows. That is my regular fee. There's no reason why he can't pay that fee as well as every other wrestler.
You said he was your friend, and that's why you did it.
He was my husband, too.
Did you have a contract?
No.
Okay. So if you wanted to be a promoter and handle it like business, then you should have gotten a contract with your wrestler so that you were going to be his promoter.
But he was my husband as well.
And since he was your husband, you only did what a wife's supposed to do, help out a husband. That's what you're supposed to do. You promoted him all the way to your bedroom to be your husband. You promoted him all the way. As a matter of fact, you promoted him up to the highest rank, husband. So that was your fee.
All rise. Party Please, you may leave the courtroom.
I'm going home to someone who respects me and treats me the way
You go
that
home
somebody
to
should be
whoever
treated.
you got
I'm going
there.
to.
I'm
you
going
go
home
and
to
you
a
just
real
do
man
him. You
and a
do him
real
exactly like you
wrestler.
did me. I'm sorry,
A real
man. It's going to
man and a
happen.
real wrestler.
So, you know, I'm sorry about your future, but
A real
I think
man
it'll
and
be
a
all right.
real
Yeah.
wrestler. It's okay, Josh.
See what happens at the next show.
It'll
Okay,
be
we'll
all
see.
right.
I'll get you in the ring. We'll go again.